Hey Journey Buddies, thanks for joining me again today. I'm going to offer you some chair yoga that is designed to stretch and just sort of relax, get yourself realigned after you've done some working out. So not everything will be available to everybody. I'll start from standing, and if that's not for you, you can skip to the seated part. The first thing we'll do is I'm using the chair back and I'm right near a wall. So I'm just going to sort of pick up my foot, and if it can go higher, you can pull in. I'm pretty flexible, you might be too, so I'm going to grab my knee and I'm just stretching the underside of my thigh. And for some of us, this might mean that you just hover your toe on the floor. There's not much place for you to go, or you can kick it out to the side, but if you can, just pull it up. I'll take it on the other side. If you're tall, you probably need more like a dining chair than a folding chair, something with a higher back. And again, you can always lean back into the wall if you need it. Good, so again, stretching in through the hamstrings. We'll come around to the side of your chair to use the seat of the chair. And if you can, this might be as far as you go, but if you can, put your palms on the seat of the chair. And this might be as far as it goes, but you might be able to walk your feet out a little ways, pull your hips back a little bit and take more of a traditional downward facing dog, but we don't want you to go too far because we don't want the chair to slide out from under you. So you want to make sure you feel nice and stable. You could stay here all day if you wanted to. If you feel like you can go further, you might need to walk your feet in a little bit, but you can put your forearms on the seat of the chair and really point your sitting bones up toward the ceiling. Good, and just sort of make sure you walk yourself back up, that you have support all the way back up, and we're going to come to seated. The first thing we'll do is take a side twist, and this is also a good variation of pigeon or lizard. So I'm just going to sort of wrap one of my arms around the seat back, and I'm going to twist. And for some of us, this might be as far as it goes, but if you can, the leg that's out in front, if you can push it back behind you as much as you can, that's what gives you that psoas stretch. If you can pull this knee in toward you, sort of in toward your, away from the chair back, I guess would be a better way to say that. And that's when we'll get your IT band. So you're getting hip flexors and IT band here, as well as a nice little twist through the torso. And we'll change sides, and you might find that one side is quite a bit more cooperative and flexible than the other. That's just fine. So again, we've got this extension. I'm pulling this knee over to the opposite wall. I've sort of got my chair back, but I can look over a shoulder and get some more twist if I want it. Good. And we'll bring it to center. Now, I'm pretty flexible and not dealing with any kind of lower body injury or limitation, so I'm able to cross my ankle over my knee. For you, it might be ankle over ankle, kind of out in front of you, and that's fine. Gravity and body weight might do this stretching for you. It might already be pulling the knee down toward the floor. You might feel the stretch in the front of your hip or the outside of your thigh. For me, I don't feel that right away. I need to help gravity along by pressing down on the inside of my knee. And I'm pushing my knee toward the floor. And I'm feeling a stretch, but it's nothing wild and woolly. I can do this all day. It's a pleasant stretch. It is a sustainable stretch. So we would much rather you hold a lesser stretch for a longer period than to pop in and out of a really intense stretch. That's a good way to get injured. So just be gentle and soft. You can sort of, as you feel like you're warmed up and you're finding more space, you can press a little bit harder if you think you have some space to work with. We'll change sides. So for me, this side is a little bit more tight, so I'm sort of backing off the pressure a little bit. So I'm not going as hard as I was on the other side. So I'm sort of pushing against the edge of my mobility, but I'm not taking a flying leap off of that edge. Good, and we'll release. Now let's get some stretch in through the shoulders. We'll take the feet a little bit wider, so the knees are a little bit wider. And I'm going to put both of my hands on the tops of my thighs, and I'm going to drop one shoulder down toward the floor and down in this direction toward my opposite knee. So what I'm feeling is the stretch right here where my shoulder attaches to my chest. You might also feel it down the length of your upper arm or down the length of your side, and all that's fine. You'll feel it where you're the tightest. And to the other side. So again, I'm pretty flexible. I'm not dealing with any injuries or limitations right now, so I'm able to go pretty deep. Just give yourself permission to go as deep as you can go. And up to center. So a way to get into the backs of the shoulders is to take the cross four stretch, or you can even take it into eagle arms. So I'll give you both options. If you have limited shoulder mobility or if you're recovering from a shoulder injury, I would stop at the first option instead of going into option number 2. So for the first option, you're gonna bring your arm out parallel to the floor like you're gonna shake someone's hand. And then you cross it over your body. You hook up your opposite arm, and then the key here is to roll the shoulders down away from the ears. So this shoulder is pulling down toward the floor, and this hand is pulling toward the wall behind you, so you get some compression, nice big stretch. Now, if you've got the flexibility and you've got a tolerance for compression in your joints, if you want, you can bring the palms together for eagle arms, but this is not for everyone. And remember, our main objective is to keep the shoulders down away from the ears. So coming into eagle arms means your shoulder comes up. You might want to skip it. We'll gently release, and we'll take it on the other side. Out and across. Hook up, roll down. You've got this compression going this way, and you can take eagle arms, bring the palms together if you like. You certainly don't have to, but this is a good option if you haven't decided what your Christmas card is going to be this year. This is a good pose. And we'll gently release from there. Now let's drop your ear to your shoulder. It doesn't matter which side you want to go first. I just got some very pleasant pops and clicks. I hope the microphone picks those up because they were very satisfying. And you might find they are too. But again, if you have any kind of inner ear issue, or this doesn't feel good for some reason, you have some cervical disc conditions, you might not want to let gravity and body weight take your head over. You might like to just look over a shoulder with your chin parallel to the floor instead. It'll stretch the same general area, so you're not losing anything if you need to modify. And we'll change sides. And another one. Oh, another one. Good, and release. So we're going to, it doesn't matter which side you start out first, we're just going to pull your fingertips back and kick the heel of your hand out away from your body. So you're going to feel the stretch on the underside of the fingers, the palm, and the inside of your forearm and wrist. And so you might not go very far, and that's okay. And especially if you have arthritic joints, anywhere in this area, you might want to proceed with caution or just skip it entirely. Good. We'll change sides. release. So keeping the hands on the knees, we're gonna cat and cow. And there's two ways to do cat and cow from seated. The first is just the traditional way to arch and flex your spine. And so for me, I've kind of run out of room. So I'm gonna scoot up slightly on the chair. I'm never on the edge of the seat. That's just really unstable, and it's a good way to end up on the floor when you didn't mean to. Now this works for me, but for a lot of my students who do the chair yoga, vertigo is an issue, and maintaining a smoother movement is important. And so they'll do this kind of swan dive thing. And so they're sort of leading with their chin first. They're not going down as far, and you are entirely welcome to do this as well. And you can also take Sufi grind. And so this should feel like you're drawing a circle in the air with the crown of your head. And again, any of my friends who have vestibular problems or a very active and sensitive vagal nerve, you might like to, vagus nerve and vagal response, you might not like to do this. You might like to just keep going back and forth in cat and cow instead of in Sufi grind. And you can reverse the direction if you like it. And release. Now you might like to have a belt or a yoga strap. For this, you don't need one. You're just going to stick a foot out and lean forward. So you can either just grasp the front of this knee, or if you can reach, you can grab your foot. Or again, that belt, just like you would wear in your daily life, or a yoga strap, you can sort of lasso your foot. The strap goes around the ball of your foot and you hold on to each end of the strap. You can do it that way. Or just trying to stretch your low back and your hamstring. Any port in a storm. And you can also have it down here. You know, if you feel like that lift is too much, you can always just leave your heel on the floor, and that's fine. When you have long hair, it sort of ends up everywhere. I find that there's more hair on my floor now than when I had a dog. And so we'll release that foot. We're just going to take a forward fold if that works for you. For some people, they'll just lean their forearms on their elbows. This is as far as they go. That's fine. I recommend, no matter where you end up, if the inner ear is a problem, to always leave your hands on your knees like so. If this is something that you're doing because you are dealing with a lower body injury or ailment, and getting dizzy doesn't bother you, you can release and just let yourself hang. You could even sort of hang to one side, just put your chest over one of your knees. It'll sort of stretch you in more through the QLs and on the sides of your lower back. You can ragdoll it too if you have that available. And press up. Now we're going to take more of full spinal twist. So I'm really going to ratchet myself around. You might not be able to twist this much, and that's okay. And over to the other side. So, I'm kind of using my free hand to grip the opposite leg, and that just kind of keeps me from feeling like I'm gonna slide out of the chair, even though I've got a pretty good grip around my elbow with the seat back. Again, we just want you to feel safe. More than anything, we're not really concerned with how far you go, we're concerned with how safe you are and how comfortable you can be. Good, and we'll release, and again, if this doesn't bother your inner ear, we're just gonna exhale, dip your chest to your chin, and inhale, take your chin up as high as it wants to go toward the ceiling. So you just use your breath rate to guide the movement. Bring the chin parallel to the floor, just roll your shoulders up, back, and around. This distributes synovial fluid through the joints and keeps the cartilage lubricated. You get those pops and clicks maybe as ligaments and tendons are finding their way back home, or maybe you have some nitrogen bubbles in the synovial fluid, and that's the popping and clicking that you hear. If that hurts you at all, don't do it anymore, but if it's not troublesome to you, just kind of keep going. Mobility is so important, even if it's just a few little shoulder and neck rolls, because not only is it keeping the joints lubricated, but also, especially with this one that we're doing here, you're draining some lymph nodes, and lymph nodes don't drain themselves, they require some friction, so you're getting lymph into your system to do its job. So being still, being sedentary really isn't good for that reason, amongst many, many others. Good, and now we're just going to take a few arm circles up overhead if that works for your shoulders. Some people will just come around through the front, and some people will skip it all together. So if you can, inhale the arms up overhead from the sides, bring the palms together, exhale the hands to heart center, and we'll take that twice more. Just big full range of motion, and exhale it down, and last one. There are so many ways to stretch in a chair, and these are just a few, so you can invent your own, or there's certainly lots of other videos, and there's all different kinds of ways you can use a chair to help you in your stretch journey and routine. So I hope this was of some service to you. Rock out with your core cow.